What's up, guys? With Reyes-Olberg fight night wrapped up and UFC 320 just 6 days away, I'm going to be giving my main card predictions in this video. Starting off with the first fight of the main card, we have Abus Magomedov versus Joe Pyfer. Both these guys have fairly similar stats. Magomedov has a 3-inch reach advantage and a 2-inch leg reach advantage. He's also 6 years older than Pyfer, coming in at 35. Pyfer's 29. Both these guys have fairly similar records, same win-loss percentage. Neither fighter is ranked and neither fighter has a ranked win. Abus Magomedov has fought two top middleweight contenders in Sean Strickland, who he lost to via knockout, and then a loss to Barallo, a former top contender, via decision. Pyfer, on the other hand, he's got some wins, some finishes against Mearshart and Marc-Andre Barriault. Like I said, neither of them are top contenders or even ranked guys. He does, however, have a decision win against Kevin Gastelum, who is a former middleweight contender. Both fighters clearly have finishing power. I think Pyfer is a little heavier handed though, so I'll be giving this one to him. I think that this fight could be close. We haven't really seen much to compare the two, but I think Pyfer takes this one. For the second fight of the main card, we have Josh Emmett versus Youssef Zalal. At first glance, Zalal seems like the obvious choice, including height, which isn't listed. Emmett is 40, Zalal 29. Zalal has every advantage except for leg reach, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue considering he's primarily a grappler and Emmett's a striker who usually throws punches rather than kicks. Zalal's also on a 4-fight win streak, 3 of which are submissions in the first or second round. Emmett, on the other hand, has lost 2 of his last 3. But when you dig a bit deeper, Emmett's last 2 losses are a decision to Ilia Topuria, a 2-division champ who knocked out Volkanovski, the current featherweight champ, Max Holloway, a former featherweight champ, and then Charles Oliveira, a former lightweight champ, and then a decision to Lerone Murphy, who's more than likely fighting for the belt next. And Zalal doesn't have a single ranked win, despite being ranked number 8 himself. All this being considered, I think Zalal is a bad matchup for Emmett, and Zalal most likely wins via sub. But I do think Emmett will put up a decent fight before that. It just sucks that I think the UFC is using him as a sacrificial lamb. I think this fight will be what they thought MVP versus Shara Bullet would be. A seasoned vet versus a top prospect who ultimately defeats the vet. All in all, I think Youssef Zalal wins this and he'll earn his rank 8 spot. Or higher than 8 because he'll beat Josh, who's ranked 7th. For the third fight of the main card, and the one I'm most excited for, we have Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Rountree. Both fighters are coming off of wins in their last fights against former champ Jamal Hill, and a loss to former champ AlexPereira before that. Yuri has the advantage in almost every category, including age, except for weight, where Rountree's slightly heavier. This is because Rountree's a blockier, more solid, sturdy guy. Despite these advantages, I'm taking Rountree, who's coming in as the underdog. If we look at both fighters' last 2 fights, I think a case can be made for Rountree. Even though Yuri beat Hill via TKO and Rountree won by decision, I'd argue that Yuri's fight was much closer than Rountree's. The main reason Yuri won was because the fight was so close, he couldn't allow it to go to decision, so he had to stand in the pocket and bang, versus Rountree, who, by the 3rd round, he was up with his calf kicks and his body kicks. He was up so much on points, he didn't need to risk standing in the pocket and banging. And despite that, Yuri dropped Hill twice, and Rountree dropped 4 times, just standing at range throwing calf kicks. So we can clearly see that Rountree, even though he didn't finish Hill, he definitely has knockout power. I think this might be a bad matchup for Yuri because we know that he stands with a really wide base with his one foot, his usually right foot, way out in front of the left. I think knowing what we know about Rountree throwing just insane calf kicks that tear your legs apart, I wouldn't be surprised if at one point Rountree throws a good one and causes Yuri to slip off balance, and then Rountree comes in with some big overhands and they stop it after some ground and pound like he did to or he was going to do to Anthony Smith. On top of that, he's been finished by AlexPereira twice in the 2nd round versus Rountree made it to the 4th. And I would say that the biggest reason as to why Rountree lost was his cardio. I believe that was his first 5-round fight. I don't necessarily think that the punches themselves he didn't get put to sleep for good, so the punches weren't doing as much as they would have if he was conditioned. I think in any 3-round fight, Roundtree is definitely in his element. So might be a little controversial, but I got Roundtree for this one. Moving on to the co-main event, and what I believe is the most one-sided fight of the main card, we have Merab versus Sandhagen. Despite coming off a nice win against Figueiredo via TKO, where Sandhagen displayed some nice grappling defense, he got out of a knee bar, he was in some uncomfortable positions, managed to put himself in dominant positions, and then finish via ground and pound. And on top of that, having every advantage, height, weight, reach, leg reach against Merab, I don't see him winning this fight. I mean, I don't think his height or reach is going to matter when Merab is just going to smudge him against the fence with his wrestling. We've seen Merab dominate O'Malley, who's another significantly taller, longer, lankier striker. I don't think Sandhagen is a better striker than O'Malley, so I don't see this ending any differently. We've seen also Sandhagen fight against Umar, who is clearly not as good of a grappler as Merab, so we've kind of got a preview of how this will go. I don't think that anybody in this division is beating Merab. I mean, he's probably the only fighter in the UFC besides maybe Hamzat, who I think can fight 4 times a year and have virtually zero risk of losing their belt. The guy's just an animal. And finally, we have our main event with a rematch between Ankalaev and AlexPereira for the light heavyweight championship. When I rewatched their first fight, I saw a lot of people in the comment section saying that Alex clearly won rounds 1, 3, and 5 and won the fight as a whole. Well, I don't think it was that close. The fight was definitely closer than I remember. Both fighters threw some powerful punches that I thought would put the other to sleep. Both threw some nice leg kicks as well. That being said, I think Ankalaev takes in the rematch. In the first fight, Ankalaev wasn't scared to trade punches. Unlike most fighters that Pereira fights, he stood in the pocket and he was content to just stand and bang. He even outstruck Pereira in both total strikes and significant strikes. On top of that, he showed no real offensive wrestling until the 4th round. The only wrestling he did prior to that was defensive. This at the end of the 1st or 2nd round just to recover from some bombs that Pereira threw. I think now that he knows that Pereira can't stop his wrestling and he can take Pereira's punches, he'll stick to grappling this time around and play it safe, kind of smudge Pereira like Merab tends to do with his opponents, win by points. With that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section about these matchups. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.